What if I told you that everything you see around you was once invisible, born only in someone's imagination? Faith is the force that turns those invisible dreams into visible reality. It's not about hoping someday, it's about knowing now. In this powerful message, you'll discover how to awaken the creative power within you that transforms your unseen desires into living proof before your eyes. Stay till the end, because once you understand this truth, you'll never look at faith or your dreams the same way again. Can you believe in what your eyes cannot see? Can you trust the invisible more than the visible? A faith is not blind, it is visionary. It is the ability to see beyond appearances and to rest in the unseen reality that already is. The world calls it foolishness, the awakened call it power. Faith is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. Everything you now experience was once unseen. The chair you sit on, the house you live in, the relationships you hold, all began as thoughts, as imaginal acts, as unseen realities in the mind of someone who dared to believe before there was evidence. When you walk by faith, you are no longer a victim of circumstance, you are the creator of it. You no longer react to life, you select the state you wish to express and faithfully dwell in it. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the highest form of faith. You live from the end, not toward it. So tonight, dare to assume that what you desire is already yours. Close your eyes, and in the silence of your imagination, see it, feel it, accept it as real. The unseen world is the only reality. The seen is merely its shadow. Let your faith be loyal to that unseen truth. Do not look for signs. Be the sign. Persist in your inner conviction until the outer world mirrors it perfectly. For faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is visionary, not blind. It is not the act of closing your eyes to the facts of life. It is the act of opening your inner eye to a greater reality that exists beyond the senses. Blind faith stumbles in darkness, but visionary faith walks in light, light born from imagination, belief, and awareness of one's creative power. Faith, in its purest form, is the ability to see the unseen and trust it more deeply than the evidence of the outer world. It does not deny the visible, it transcends it. It looks beyond appearances and declares, I know something greater is unfolding. When a person lives by sight alone, they are ruled by circumstance. They react to what is, rather than creating from what can be. But when one lives by faith, they no longer bow to conditions, they become the master of them. Faith is the inner vision that holds the image of fulfillment steady, even when the outer world shows contradiction. It is a steadfast knowing that reality is not what the eyes see, but what the mind imagines and feels as true. This vision is not a mere daydream. It is a living blueprint that reshapes the very substance of life. The visionary knows that imagination is the seed of creation. Every invention, discovery, and transformation in history began as an invisible idea in the mind of someone who dared to believe it possible. The dreamer's faith made the unseen seen. Visionary faith is the quiet confidence that unseen forces are responding to your inner state. It is understanding that consciousness is the only reality and that your assumption, when persisted in, must solidify into fact. To possess faith is to stand calmly in the storm, knowing the outcome is already secured. It is to live from the end, not toward it. To feel now what you wish to experience later. Visionary faith refuses to be moved by appearances, because it knows appearances are merely delayed reflections of inner conviction. It sees what is invisible to the ordinary eye, because it has trained itself to look with the eye of imagination. This faith is not built on effort, but on awareness. It is the quiet inner assurance that what you have assumed in consciousness already exists. You may not see it yet, but you know it. You may not touch it, but you feel its presence. Visionary faith allows you to rest in that unseen truth without anxiety, without doubt. You live in the awareness that all things are finished in imagination, and that your task is only to remain faithful to that vision until the outer mirrors the inner. Faith is visionary because it perceives reality as consciousness first, form second. It sees beyond time, beyond obstacles, beyond logic. It trusts the invisible cause behind every visible effect, knowing that imagination creates reality and that the unseen is more real than what the senses behold. The unseen world is the true reality. What we call the physical world is only a reflection, a shadow cast by the invisible forces of consciousness. Every visible thing has its origin in the unseen realm of imagination and belief. Before any event takes form, before any structure rises, before any word is spoken, it exists first as an invisible state within awareness. The unseen world is not less real, it is more real, for it is the cause, while the visible is only the effect. To understand this is to awaken from the illusion that life happens to you. It is to recognize that life happens through you. The unseen world is the realm of imagination, thought, and feeling. It is the infinite field of possibilities where all potential realities exist. What you hold in your mind with conviction begins to shape the world around you. The unseen responds to your inner assumptions with perfect precision, arranging circumstances and people to match your state of being. Everything you experience outwardly is the visible echo of what you have believed inwardly. Change the unseen cause, and the seen effect must change accordingly. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself to be the person you desire to become, you are not engaging in fantasy. You are entering the creative workshop of reality. What you imagine, when felt as true, begins to harden into fact. The unseen is the womb of creation, where all things are conceived before birth into form. The unseen world is timeless, infinite, and immediate. In that dimension, every possibility already exists. You do not create by effort, you select by assumption. You choose through feeling and focus which invisible state you will bring into visibility. To rely only on what is visible is to live reactively, like a leaf blown by the wind of circumstance. But to live from the unseen is to live as a creator, consciously shaping life through inner vision. The unseen world is your true home, your true source. There, nothing is impossible, because everything exists as a potential waiting for your recognition. When you assume a feeling or a belief, you are drawing that unseen possibility into form. Your outer world merely mirrors what you have accepted within. Faith is the key that opens the unseen. When you believe in the reality of what is not yet seen, you activate the creative law that governs all existence. The senses may deny it, the world may contradict it, yet the unseen remains steady, for it is the foundation upon which all things stand. The unseen world is the world of cause, the silent, invisible power that shapes destiny. To know this truth is to shift your attention from appearances to essence, from reaction to creation, from the shadow to the light that casts it. All things first exist in imagination. Before any form appears in the world of matter, it is conceived in the silent depths of the mind. Imagination is the birthplace of creation, the unseen architect that designs the structure of reality. Every invention, discovery, building, or idea that has shaped human history was once an invisible picture in someone's consciousness. Nothing begins in the external world. Everything originates from within. The chair you sit on, the technology you use, the relationships you experience, all are outcomes of imaginal activity, brought to life through faith and feeling. Imagination is not a passive faculty. It is the creative power of God within man. It is the invisible force that molds substance and gives form to the formless. When you imagine, you are not merely entertaining thoughts. You are planting seeds in the fertile soil of consciousness. Each imaginal act, when accepted as true, begins to unfold itself in the visible world. The imagination does not differentiate between what is real and unreal. It accepts whatever is impressed upon it with feeling and brings it forth as experience. The outer world is nothing more than the crystallization of inner imagery, the solidified expression of what has been imagined consistently. Every moment of your life, you are imagining. You are shaping the unseen substance of reality through the pictures you hold in mind and the emotions you attach to them. The key is awareness, to imagine consciously rather than unconsciously. When you direct imagination with intent and conviction, you align yourself with the creative law of the universe. You begin to live as the cause rather than the effect. To imagine wisely is to choose the life you wish to live and embody it inwardly until it becomes natural. The world cannot resist the power of sustained imagination. It must conform to it. Imagination precedes experience just as a blueprint precedes construction. To change your outer world, you must first revise the inner image from which it springs. If you continue to imagine limitation, struggle, or lack, your world will faithfully mirror those states. But if you dare to imagine abundance, love, and freedom, the invisible forces of life will reorganize themselves to match that vision. Imagination makes the invisible visible, transforming thought into thing, idea into fact. This is why the wise guard their imagination with discipline and care. They know that whatever they entertain inwardly will one day become their outer reality. The power to imagine is the power to create, to heal, to transform. Through imagination, you can move beyond the boundaries of circumstance and step into the reality of your choosing. Every great achievement, every act of faith, begins as an imaginal seed held with feeling until it takes root in the visible world. Assumption bridges desire and manifestation. Between wanting something and experiencing it lies a single act of consciousness, the assumption that it is already yours. Desire is the spark that awakens imagination, but assumption is the act that gives it life. To assume is to take upon yourself the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to inhabit mentally and emotionally the state you long to express outwardly. It is not mere wishful thinking, it is creative knowing. When you assume a state with conviction, you set in motion the unseen forces that shape the visible world. Every assumption, whether conscious or unconscious, is a seed planted in the field of reality, and in time it must bear fruit according to its nature. Assumption is the secret link between imagination and experience. Imagination conceives the image. Assumption clothes it with belief and feeling. Without assumption, desire remains only an idea, a distant possibility. The moment you assume its fulfillment, you cross the bridge into creation. You no longer stand outside your desire, looking toward it. You enter it, dwell in it, and live from it. You become the embodiment of what you seek, and by that inner alignment, the outer world rearranges itself to mirror your new state of being. Assumption is not forced effort, but inner acceptance. It is the quiet conviction that what you have imagined is already true. The mind that assumes does not beg, struggle, or hope. It knows. It walks in the unseen reality of fulfillment and allows the world of form to catch up. This is why faith and assumption are inseparable. To have faith is to assume the reality of the unseen. Every outer condition is only a reflection of the assumptions you hold about yourself and life. Change those assumptions, and you alter the course of events without physical effort. The bridge of assumption does not rely on evidence. It stands firm even when circumstances appear contrary, for it knows that the outer must eventually yield to the inner. When you assume the state of health, success, love, or peace, you begin to think, feel, and act in harmony with that state. This alignment becomes the magnet that draws corresponding experiences into your path. You are not waiting for manifestation. You are living it inwardly until it becomes outward fact. To assume the wish fulfilled is to rest in the feeling that your desire is complete. It is to walk as though the prayer has been answered, to think from the end rather than toward it. Every assumption, when persisted in, solidifies into reality because consciousness is creative. The world is your mirror, faithfully reflecting what you have accepted as true. Desire shows you what you could be, assumption makes you that. Between longing and fulfillment, assumption builds the invisible bridge that carries you from imagination to realization, live from the end, not toward it. This is the great secret of creation, the law that separates mere wishing from true manifestation. To live toward the end is to acknowledge separation, to confess that what you desire is not yet yours. To live from the end is to enter the state of fulfillment now, to assume its reality so completely that it becomes your natural dwelling place. When you live from the end, you stop striving to make something happen and instead rest in the knowing that it already has. The unseen cause is complete and the outer world is simply catching up. Most people live in a constant state of wanting. They speak of what they hope will come, what they wish to achieve, or what they are waiting for. Yet every word of longing reinforces the absence of the thing desired. Consciousness is creative. It reproduces the state it occupies. When you think and feel from lack, you sustain lack. When you think and feel from fulfillment, you draw fulfillment. Living from the end is the art of shifting identity, of abandoning the old self that lacks and assuming the new self that has. It is not an act of pretending but of awakening. To live as though it is already done is to claim your rightful state of being. Imagination is the means by which you live from the end. In imagination, you experience what you wish as though it were now real. You feel the thrill of the accomplished desire, the peace of completion, the gratitude of attainment. This inner experience impresses the subconscious mind, which then expresses it through the circumstances of life. The outer world mirrors the inner state with mathematical precision, for consciousness alone creates. Living from the end requires persistence and faith. The senses will tempt you to react to appearances, to believe in what seems unfinished. But when you remain loyal to the inner reality, you prove your dominion over illusion. Every time you return in imagination to the fulfilled state, you are reinforcing the new pattern of being. Eventually, it becomes automatic. You no longer imagine to make it happen. You imagine because it already has. This principle applies to every area of life: health, relationships, abundance, purpose. If you are seeking love, live from the feeling of being loved. If you desire success, live from the consciousness of already succeeding. Feel now what you expect to feel then, and life must reflect it. The world cannot resist a mind that lives from its accomplished ideal. Living from the end dissolves doubt, ends striving, and brings harmony between the seen and unseen. It allows you to act, think, and feel as one who already possesses, thereby making possession inevitable. To live from the end is to live as the creator rather than the seeker, as the cause rather than the effect. Inner conviction shapes outer experience. The world you see is not separate from what you believe within yourself. Every event, circumstance, and encounter is molded by the silent convictions you hold in the depths of consciousness. These convictions are not surface thoughts or fleeting wishes. They are deep-rooted beliefs that define who you know yourself to be. They determine what you attract, how you interpret life, and the level of reality you experience. The outer world is nothing more than a mirror, faithfully reflecting the image you carry within. When you change your inner conviction, the reflection must change with it. Conviction is more powerful than desire. Desire wants something, conviction assumes it. It is the settled belief that something is so, even in the absence of physical proof. When you are convinced of your inner reality, you cease to question or struggle for results. You know that consciousness precedes form, and that your world cannot help but conform to the truth you have accepted within. Every limitation you perceive is born of inner disbelief, and every freedom you experience arises from inner certainty. Life responds not to your words, but to the vibration of your conviction. Your assumptions about yourself are constantly shaping your environment. If you are convinced that you are unworthy, the world will echo back experiences that affirm it. If you are convinced that you are loved, capable, and secure, those same qualities will appear everywhere you turn. The outer is only the shadow cast by the light of inner belief. To attempt to change the world without changing conviction is to rearrange shadows while ignoring the source. Real transformation begins within, in the quiet acceptance of a new truth about yourself. Inner conviction is strengthened through imagination and feeling. When you imagine yourself as already possessing what you desire and feel its reality deeply, that feeling becomes conviction. The subconscious accepts what the conscious mind assumes as true and brings it to pass through corresponding circumstances. Conviction is not built by repetition alone, but by emotional acceptance. When you feel the truth of your desire so vividly that doubt dissolves, creation is inevitable. No external effort can surpass the creative power of conviction. People, opportunities, and events align naturally with your inner state. You may appear to act or make decisions, but the deeper cause is always your belief about who you are and what is possible. The moment you claim a new identity in consciousness, the world reorganizes itself around that new truth. What once seemed impossible begins to unfold effortlessly, for the universe is compelled to express the conviction you hold. Inner conviction is the hidden law that governs experience, the unseen architect designing every visible form of your life. It is the cause behind all outcomes, the silent force that shapes destiny through the certainty of belief. Feeling is the secret of faith realized. Thought alone does not create. It is feeling that gives thought its power. The universe responds not to words but to vibration, and feeling is that vibration made alive. Faith is not a cold belief in something unseen. It is the warm, living sensation of having already received it. When a desire is felt as fulfilled, faith has been made real. Feeling is the bridge between imagination and manifestation, the invisible substance that transforms an idea into experience. Without feeling, faith is incomplete. It remains an intellectual concept rather than a creative force. Every emotion you entertain is a signal to creation, a declaration of what you believe to be true in that moment. When you feel lack, you affirm its reality and call forth its expression. When you feel abundance, love, or fulfillment, you open the way for those states to take form. Feeling is the language of the subconscious mind, the creative part of you that brings all things to pass. You impress it not through words or effort, but through the deep, natural feeling that your desire is already a fact. Once the feeling is accepted, the result is certain, for creation begins and ends in consciousness. Faith realized is not an act of striving but of surrender. It is the quiet confidence that comes from feeling the truth of your desire so vividly that doubt has no room to exist. When you feel something as real, you no longer question when or how it will appear. You rest in the knowing that it already has. This is the state of faith, a calm inner assurance born of felt conviction. The outer world must eventually conform to that inner atmosphere, for the law of life is that like attracts like. To cultivate feeling is to live as though your wish were fulfilled. Close your eyes and imagine the scene that would follow your success, your healing, your answered prayer. Then let yourself feel it. Feel the relief, the joy, the gratitude, the satisfaction. That emotion is the magnet that draws reality into alignment with your vision. You are not pretending, you are creating. You are impressing upon the creative mind the pattern of fulfillment, and that impression must express itself in form. Feeling transforms faith from concept to reality. It moves belief from the head to the heart, where true creation begins. You can think positively for years, yet nothing will change until you feel differently. When feeling and assumption merge, faith is complete. You no longer wait for evidence because the evidence already lives within you as sensation. The unseen world recognizes that vibration and shapes itself accordingly. Feeling is the key to unlocking the unseen, the power that turns faith into sight, imagination into experience, and thought into being. Persistence proves loyalty to the unseen. The unseen is the realm of imagination, belief, and faith, the invisible cause behind every visible effect. To remain faithful to what cannot yet be seen is the highest expression of spiritual strength. Anyone can believe when results are visible, but true mastery lies in persisting when appearances contradict your desire. Persistence is the quiet, unwavering conviction that the unseen reality you have assumed is more real than the facts that surround you. It is the continual returning to your vision, the refusal to be moved by delay or doubt. Every moment you persist in faith, you are declaring your allegiance to the creative power within, not the conditions without. Persistence is not struggle, it is steadiness. It is the calm, repeated assumption of the fulfilled desire, the choice to feel the end as real until it becomes natural. When you persist in imagination, you train your subconscious to accept the unseen as fact. That acceptance becomes law, and the outer world must conform. Many abandon their visions too early, mistaking temporary resistance for failure. Yet all resistance is only the dying echo of the old state. The new reality is already forming, but it requires your persistence to anchor it into the physical world. The moment you waver, you give energy back to the old assumption, and it reasserts itself in experience. Loyalty to the unseen means holding fast to your inner conviction, even when the senses tempt you to believe otherwise. It is seeing beyond appearances, remembering that the world is only the mirror of consciousness. To persist is to live by inner vision, not outer sight. When you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are proclaiming that the invisible is the true substance of life. You may not yet touch it, but you know it. You may not yet see it, but you feel its presence. That feeling is faith in motion, and persistence is faith sustained. Every great achievement, every transformation has been born of persistence. The artist persists through failure, the inventor through doubt, the dreamer through rejection. What carries them forward is not evidence but inner loyalty to the unseen image that compels them. The law of creation demands this steadfastness, for consciousness must be impressed continuously until the new state becomes dominant. When you persist in your assumption, you dissolve the power of the old patterns that once ruled your experience. Persistence is the proof of belief. It reveals where your true faith lies, whether in appearances or in imagination. Each time you choose to return to the feeling of fulfillment, you are affirming that unseen cause is greater than seen effect. Persistence transforms faith from mere hope into certainty. It is the invisible act of loyalty that shapes destiny, the unwavering devotion to that which exists first in imagination, before it becomes the visible fact of your world. You are the cause, the world is the effect. Everything you experience outwardly originates within your consciousness. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you. Every circumstance, every person, every event that enters your world is a reflection of the beliefs, emotions, and assumptions you hold about yourself and life. The outer world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the inner state of being. Change the cause, and the effect must follow. Attempting to alter the outer without addressing the inner is like trying to fix a reflection in the mirror without changing the face that produces it. Consciousness is the only reality. It is the unseen creative power that molds substance into form. The thoughts and feelings you consistently entertain are impressions upon this creative mind, and these impressions express themselves as the events of your life. Whether you realize it or not, you are always causing, through imagination, belief, and emotion. The world responds precisely to the tone of your inner dialogue and the vibration of your state of consciousness. When you live in fear, you call forth fearful experiences. When you live in love, the world mirrors harmony and peace. The law is exact and impartial, as within, so without. You are not a passive observer, but an active participant in creation. The situations that appear before you are not random, they are projections of your inner convictions. Even the obstacles that seem external are reflections of inner resistance, doubt, or divided belief. When you accept responsibility for being the cause, you reclaim your power. You cease blaming people or conditions, knowing that the outer world cannot change until you do. This awareness does not bring guilt, it brings freedom. It places the creative power back where it belongs, within consciousness itself. To live as cause is to live consciously. It means becoming aware of what you are imagining, what you are assuming, and what you are feeling throughout the day. Every reaction is a clue to the state you are in. When you react with anger or fear, you reaffirm the very state you wish to escape. But when you respond with calm conviction and faith, you remain aligned with the higher state you desire to express. The outer world cannot resist the authority of one who knows they are the cause, for that person no longer pleads with reality. They direct it through imagination. The world is a motion picture of your inner life projected onto the screen of space. To change the film, you must rewrite the script within consciousness. Assume the feeling of your desired state until it becomes natural, and the world will mirror it perfectly. Everything you behold is yourself pushed out, the visible expression of your invisible beliefs. You are not a victim of circumstance, but the author of it, shaping reality moment by moment through the silent power of imagination and the convictions you hold as true. Faith turns invisible dreams into visible form. Every dream begins in the unseen world of imagination, a realm untouched by time or limitation. Faith is the bridge that carries it from that invisible dimension into the physical world. It is the invisible power that gives life to what the senses cannot yet perceive. Without faith, a dream remains only a possibility. With faith, it becomes an unfolding reality. Faith is the creative force that stands between conception and manifestation. The unseen assurance that what you imagine exists now and will reveal itself in due time. Faith is not mere belief. It is conviction felt so deeply that it no longer depends on evidence. It is the unwavering knowing that the unseen is already real. When you have faith, you do not look for signs, you are the sign. You walk in the feeling of completion, even when nothing outwardly has changed. Faith does not argue with appearances or doubt in delay. It remains loyal to the vision held in imagination. The unseen world of consciousness contains all possibilities, and faith is the faculty that selects which of those possibilities will become visible through you. The dreamer who lives by faith is never limited by circumstance. He knows that imagination precedes creation, and that the outer world is only a mirror of his inner assumption. Faith is what keeps the vision alive when reason denies it. It allows you to stand unmoved by contradiction, to rest in the invisible knowing that the thing hoped for is already accomplished in spirit. This inner certainty becomes the seed from which visible form grows. Faith transforms thought into thing, idea into fact, desire into experience. It is the law by which imagination becomes expression. To live by faith is to live from the end, to think and feel as though your dream were already realized. Each time you assume that feeling, you are impressing the subconscious with the image of fulfillment. The subconscious, being creative and obedient, expresses that impression in outer form. This is not magic but law. The law of consciousness. Whatever you hold in faith must appear, for consciousness is the only cause of form. Faith does not require effort, it requires acceptance. The moment you accept the reality of your dream within, you have given it permission to appear without. You may not know when or how, but faith does not concern itself with details, it rests in certainty. The invisible world moves in harmony with your inner state, arranging circumstances, people, and events to reflect your belief. Faith is the power that transforms imagination into manifestation, the unseen hand shaping the visible world according to your inner conviction. Through faith, the unseen becomes seen, the imagined becomes real, and the dreamer becomes the creator of his own reality.